Hey everybody, this is Tony Hibbard with the Assisted Band Director, and I've got a new video that I've been putting together for a while. And this is 15 beginner band pieces, which is grade half. I've noticed that my student teachers are lacking in this area, and a lot of people just don't really know where to start with beginning band pieces. Um, I've had a couple student teachers ask if Air for Band was a good piece for beginners, or if a childhood hymn was a good piece for beginners. And no, they're not. So these are 15 pieces that I have done. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and start this slideshow. Sorry, guys. Um, all right. So these are all pieces that I have already done before. And the criteria that I used for this range of pieces was they only used the first six notes of the B flat major scale. There were a few that I originally had on this list, but then when I looked closer at the score, they went beyond the first six notes, so I had to take those out. And these are in no particular order. They're actually in alphabetical order, but number one is not the best piece. These are just pieces that I have done. And before I get into this, if your beginners or your beginner band is not ready for these pieces, don't take that as a personal slam on you. Um, you have to meet your kids where they're at. And honestly, about half of these pieces, probably more than half, I've done with my second year students at the beginning of the year. And some of the pieces I've done at the end of this of my my students' second year. So it all depends on where your students are, and you just meet them where they're at. But without further ado, here is number one, and it's 12 The Clock Strikes by Rob Grice. It's in three flats, so it's in the key of E flat major. So it's just got a different tone center than I think every other or most of the other ones on this list. It's a novelty piece. It's a really fun piece. The trombones get to do a gliss on it, so that's always a positive for your low brass players. It uses five percussion parts, and what I did for each piece is I just how many parts there are, and then how feasible it is with the least amount of players. And then, of course, if you have more than what it calls for, you can double mallets, you can double snare, you can double a lot of things. But this is just kind of a general starting point. So the five percussion parts for this one is bells, snare drum, bass drum, tempo blocks that uses two different blocks, and two timpani, and it's an optional part. And this is playable with three players. Snare, bass, and the tempo blocks are kind of the core of it. So if you only had three, you could still pull this off. And this piece is part of um, a pack that you can get, and it's four pieces. For when I bought them, they were like $100. I don't know what they cost now, but pretty economical. And this is the first band concert packet by CL Barnhouse, and they'll be the other three pieces are also in this as well. So that's number one. Number two, Battle Creek March by Mark Williams. This is probably the oldest piece on this list. It's in two flats. It's a traditional march. It does have repeats. I've got another march that happens later that's just straight through with no repeats. All parts are going to have one per part unless I specify them on here. So this one has two clarinet, a clarinet 1 and 2, and a trumpet 1 and 2. Everything else is just one. Three percussion parts: bells, snare, and bass. That's it. There's not a crash cymbal part, but I have in the past just doubled the bass drum part. So not a lot of percussion parts on this one, but for March, it's difficult to do that. Number three, and this one is also in the Our First Band concert. This is Be Still My Soul by Robert W. Smith. It has two flats in the key signature. It is a lyrical piece. It also has tempo changes. There's some ritardandos in there and a tempos. The flute part is Divisi. Everything else is straightforward. There are a couple dotted quarter eighth note rhythms. There's six percussion parts. Bells, vibes are optional. Timpani, triangle, mark tree can be substituted for wind chimes. Suspended cymbal While it's marked a grade 5, it's probably too hard for beginners. I've never done this one with beginners. It's just a really beefy piece for the criteria that it was created for. Um, but again, that's for our first band concert by CL Barnhouse. Number 4. This is Court of the Noble Trumpeteers by Timothy Loest. I hope I'm saying that right. This one is also a part of a pack. The previous one was by CL Barnhouse. This one is by FJH Music. It is the Curtain Up Complete Concert Starter Series, Volume 1. And if you're interested, they also have a Curtain Up, I think it's like Beginner Band Volume 1 and a Developing Band Volume 1. Anyways, there's 3 different versions for 3 different grade levels. But this one is the Starter Series. It does have a call and response um, theme to it, and obviously it features the trumpets. And there's also, if you really wanted to be ambitious, you could do an antiphonal trumpet, whatever. You could have trumpets on opposite sides of the stage or whatever. With the Curtain Up series, each, and actually everything by FJH in this grade level, comes with musical jump starts. So there's 2 or 3 exercises that you can do before you even get into the piece, and it usually covers the melody, it covers some kind of rhythm in it, covers, you know it's got a lot of good material in it to get started. And then once your band can play through all those jump starts, it really comes together a lot easier once you get on the actual piece. Number 5, Daydreams by Rob Romeyn. I hope I'm saying that one right too. uh 2 flats as well. It's a lyrical, but it's in a faster tempo, so it doesn't feel like it just has a different feel. My beginners seem to like this one more than the other lyricals because it's faster. It has 8 percussion parts: bells, timpani, uses 2 drums, cabasa can be substituted for a shaker, bass, a suspended cymbal, crash cymbal, triangle, wind chimes. It can be playable with 4 or more players. Number 6, Heroes in Glory by James Swearingen. This is another one in our first band concert by CL Barnhouse. It's 2 flats. It's kind of an overture-ish piece. I actually took this piece to festival one year. Um, my kids absolutely loved it. They wanted to play it the next year. Um, they liked it a lot more than I liked it. Not that it's a bad piece. I just, the kids really enjoyed it. The low brass and reeds are in fifths, so that's something to keep in mind. Most of the other pieces in this, the brass are in, or the low brass and reeds are either in unison or octaves, but in this one they're actually on 2 different parts. 8 percussion parts: bells, timpani for 2 drums. The snares are off for the snare drum. Bass, triangle, tambourine, sleigh bell, suspended cymbal, and you can play this with 3 or more. When I took it to festival, I only had, I think, 4, and we were able to cover all the parts sufficiently. Um, and again, that's part of our first band concert. Number 7. This is the only one I haven't performed yet, but I am going to do it this year. Um, Mechanical Monsters by Randall Standridge. I think any music list that doesn't have Randall Standridge, he writes so much good music for beginning bands right now. It's in 3 flats. It's a novelty piece. It has a very active low brass and reeds part. Um, it has extended techniques. The band gets to do hissing sounds and pencils on stands, and I think there's a couple other ones in there. 7 percussion parts. There's a bells synthesizer part if you want to add the electronic element into it. There's an optional timpani part, snare, bass, 2 metallic objects. And you get to choose those of your choice. Crash cymbal, a ratchet. And it's playable with 4 or more players. With a lot of Randall's later music, and I think he's going back and doing it for some of the older stuff that he wrote. There are resource sheets, kind of like the musical jump starts for the other pieces, and there's online play alongs. So you can do it with a click track, you can do it without a click track, you can do it with only percussion. And there's like a at tempo version and a slower version. When I did Santa the Barbarian, which is a great piece, this past Christmas, the way my classes are split up, I don't have full instrumentation in any of my classes. So it was really nice to have those play along tracks because then the students could hear what the other parts sounded like. So a lot of his music has all of these play along tracks and resource sheets on his website. Number 8. All right, the next 3 pieces are all going to be midnight pieces. They are all a part of Brian Balmage's Midnight Suite, which I have done several times. But this is the first one in alphabetical order. It's in 2 flats, but it's in a minor key. So it uses concert C to concert G, and then you have the lowered 7th for concert B flat. It is in a much faster tempo, 152 beats per minute. There are lots of divisi parts. So it starts to introduce your students into first part and second part. So there's divisi parts in the flute, clarinet, alto sax, trumpet, and then the low brass and reeds. 6 percussion parts, bells, an optional xylophone part, snare, bass, crash, and tambourine. And you can do that with 5 or more percussionists. It comes with the musical jump starts, and this is actually the 3rd movement of the Midnight Suite. Number 9, and this is actually how I was introduced to the Midnight Suite. This is Midnight Mission by Brian Balmages. It's got the plus next to midnight because it's part of the Curtain Up series. It's in 2 flats, and it's also got that minor tonality to it. It's another fast tempo. It really utilizes staccato, and I did another video on this. This is the piece that I actually teach staccato style with, because it's all throughout this entire piece. 7 percussion parts, xylophone, snare. It does have a lot of flams in it, so if your percussionists don't know flams yet, this would be a good piece to introduce that to as well. Bass drum, 2 tempo blocks, triangle, crash cymbal, and a vibra slap. And it's playable with 5 or more percussionists. It comes with the musical jump starts, and again, it's part of the Curtain Up starter series, and it is the 1st movement of the Midnight Suite. Number 10 is Midnight Sky. This is also 2 flats, but it's major, and it's the lyrical movement of it, and it's got tempo changes in it, like with Be Still My Soul, so it's got a couple ritardandos in there. The low brass and reeds are in divisi, and there's also some non-triad chords, so it kind of introduces, tension and release or dissonance resolution, whatever terminology you use. It's got 7 percussion parts, bells, and optional vibes, triangle, wind chimes, bass, suspended, crash, and it's playable with 5 or more students. And it's by FJH, so it's got the musical jump starts that comes along with it, and it is the middle or 2nd movement of the Midnight Suite. Number 11, Samba La Bamba by William Owens. It's 2 flats, and it's in a Latin style. There are 6 percussion parts, snare, bass, maracas, claves, an optional tambourine part, an optional timpani part using 2 drums, and it's playable with 4 or more. It's got the musical jump starts, and this is also a part of the Curtain Up Complete Starter Series. And this was actually the starter series was the first packet that I discovered back in my first year of teaching when I had very little money to buy music, and then I discovered these. Number 12, Song for Peace, James Swearingen. It's 2 flats. It's a lyrical, and it's a slow lyrical, 76 beats per minute. The oboe part can be an optional 2nd flute part, so if you have a ton of flutes, you can divide them up. There are 8 percussion parts, bells, and vibes. There's a chime part, but if you don't have chimes, it can be doubled again on bells. There's an optional marimba part, timpani part with 2 different drums, wind chimes, and a triangle, and suspended cymbal. and it's playable with four or more parts, or four or more players. Lucky number 13, excuse me, Starsplitter Fanfare by Brian Balmages. It's in two flats, and it's a fanfare. There are Divisi parts in the clarinet and trumpet. There are six percussion parts, bells, an optional chimes part, snare, bass, crash, triangle, and it's playable with five or more players. And it's got the musical jump starts, I think. Now I'm questioning myself because this is through Barnhouse. Um, so the musical jump starts may not be on this one, but it is a part of our first band concert by CL Barnhouse. Number 14, Synergy March by William Owens. I've also done a piece on this on my channel. This is always the first march that I introduce to my beginners. It's two flats. It's a march, but there's no repeats. It's straight through. Five percussion parts: bells, snare, bass, crash, and triangle, and it's playable with three or more players. It comes with the musical jump starts, and it's a part of the Curtain Up starter series. And then the last one is Zombie Stomp by Rob Grice. It's in two flats, but it's in a minor key, concert C to concert G, and then the lowered seventh, you go down for B flat. It's a novelty piece. It has a percussion break. I forgot to put in here. There's also stomping that the wind players get to do. Six percussion parts: bells, timpani for two drums, snare, bass, toms, just two toms, and a slapstick. And it's playable with three or more students. This has hands down been the favorite with all of my students. They always want to play it even after we've performed it. They want to play it the next year. My eighth graders last year, we played it, the last couple days of school. We just played a bunch of pieces that they had done through middle school, and they still love that piece. So if you have not tried out Zombie Stomp, you should definitely check that one out. I also did a video on this one on my channel as well. And then the final piece, this is Embark by Carol Brittin Chambers. It's in two flats, and there's a woodwinds only section and a brass only section. It's got eight percussion, bells, timpani with two drums, snare, bass, crash, suspended, tambourine, and triangle, and it's playable with four or more players. And this is a free piece. So even if you have nothing in your booster account or nothing in your school account, you can still, and I'll put this link in the description, you can still get this piece for free. It's a great piece, comes with all the parts. And actually, I am hearing that they are getting ready to commission a second piece. I don't know if it's going to be through Carol or not. But if you're not familiar with Director's Talk Shop, you definitely need to check that out too, because there's all kinds of free resources, including this piece right here. So, and then hopefully to make it easier for you guys, the very last slide in here, I just put everything together. So you can pause this and screenshot it or whatever. But this is all the pieces in alphabetical order, except for the Midnight Suite. I put those in the movement order. And then I put all the symbols at the bottom, which four pieces are in our first band concert, which four pieces are in the starter series, and which piece was free. So if you get our first band concert, it comes with 12 The Clock Strikes, Be Still My Soul, Heroes in Glory, and Starsplitter Fanfare. So you get a fanfare, you get, I call it a feature piece, but I don't know, it's kind of the main piece. And then you have a lyrical piece, and then you have a novelty piece. And then the Curtain Up series comes with Court of the Noble Trumpeteers, Midnight Mission, Synergy March, and Samba La Bamba. And again, you kind of get your feature piece with Court of the Noble Trumpeteers. You get your novelty piece with Samba La Bamba. You get your Synergy March, or you get your march with Synergy March, and you get just a completely different sounding piece with Midnight Mission. So both of those sets are really good and really budget friendly. And then of course we have the free piece Embark by Carol Brittin Chambers. So, and I am always trying to find new literature. Those of you that know me know that I love looking at new literature, trying to find other pieces, whatever. So if there's anything on here that I missed, I am always up to look at new pieces, check out new pieces, check out um, new composers. So please comment below and let us know what you guys have played that you have had a lot of success with. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Um, Please like and subscribe and send this to a new teacher who's looking at finding new music for the spring, because this would be a great place to start. So all right, that's it, guys. Thank you very much, and let's end this.